My sister tried to ruin our lives for a year after her boyfriend dumped her at a 5-year-old's party. You ever witness a moment so awkward, so secondhand embarrassing, that your soul physically tries to leave your body? Yeah, that was Lindsay. At our cousin Tommy's 5th birthday party. That day? That was the beginning of the downfall none of us saw coming. So we're at this little suburban backyard bash in Georgia, right? Nothing fancy, balloons, bounce house, pizza slices on paper plates with cartoon dinosaurs. Family's all there. Aunt Lisa and Uncle Tom hosting, Grandma Ruth sitting pretty in the shade with her oxygen tank, and me juggling my soda and half a cupcake while trying to keep my nephew from face-planting into a kiddie pool. And then Lindsay shows up, late, wearing 6-inch heels, full makeup, and a designer coat in the middle of spring. Like she was about to step into a charity gala instead of a literal dinosaur-themed barbecue. And she brought Nate. Now, Nate was a chill dude. Kind of shy, tall, clearly uncomfortable anytime Lindsay talked over someone, which was, like, every 30 seconds. This was their 4th month dating, and he'd already seen her spiral over a barista for getting almond milk. Dude looked like he needed an exit strategy. Anyway, we're all singing happy birthday to Tommy, this sweet, Dino-obsessed, ADHD-powered gremlin we all adore, and as the candles are lit, Lindsay leans over to Nate and loudly says, "Ugh, this is so juvenile. Couldn't they at least hire someone decent to decorate?" Everyone hears it. I mean, everyone. Even Grandma, and her hearing's been shot since the 90s. Aunt Lisa shoots her a look. Tommy, who's already a little overstimulated, starts looking around nervously. His lip wobbles. I crouch next to him and whisper, "Hey bud, you're doing great. Want to blow out those candles?" He nods. Then Lindsay claps loud and says, "Okay, blow them out already. Some of us have places to be." That's when Tommy bursts into tears. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next, like full-on, frosting smudged, helium-filled heartbreak. Aunt Lisa tries to comfort him, but the moment is ruined. And then, the universe delivers. Nate, who's been silent this whole time, steps forward, clears his throat, looks around the party like he's trying to remember if anyone else is watching. We are. We definitely are. I can't do this anymore. Lindsay blinks. Do what? This. You. Every day is some kind of scene. You insult people, you make everything about yourself, and honestly, you made a 5-year-old cry at his own birthday party. I'm out. She freezes. Excuse me. Nate pulls his car keys from his pocket, looks her dead in the eye. You need help. I need peace. And then he walks. Past the cake. Past the shocked relatives. Gets into his car and drives off, leaving Lindsay standing there with her arms stiff at her sides and rage blooming across her cheeks. No one moves. Not even the toddlers. Finally, Grandma Ruth, in her frail but piercing voice, says, "Well, it's about time someone said it." I swear to God, I almost burst out laughing. Lindsay storms off 5 minutes later, high heels stabbing the grass like she's trying to destroy the backyard on her way out. None of us expected to see her again anytime soon. We were wrong. Dead wrong. Because 3 days later, Aunt Lisa opens her front door to find a pair of DCFS officers asking about Tommy's bruises and why the family left him screaming in the backyard with no supervision. We all knew exactly who sent the anonymous tip, but that was just the beginning. So when DCFS, Child Services, showed up at Aunt Lisa's door 3 days after Lindsay's meltdown at the birthday party, we thought it was some sort of bureaucratic mistake. Spoiler, it wasn't. They asked her about visible bruises on Tommy's arms and legs, about whether he was being neglected outside for hours, whether there were unsafe adults with drug histories living in the house. Lisa was shaking. She's the most squeaky clean, obsessive type A mom on the block. She labels her pantry. She alphabetizes cleaning products. The closest thing to a drug in that house is children's Motrin. The caseworker was polite but firm. Said they had to follow up. Said they got a report that sounded credible. Used words like mandated reporter. Took notes. Asked to see Tommy. Tommy was mid-nap on the couch, curled up with a dinosaur plushie. They woke him, asked some questions. Are you safe here? Do you feel scared? Do your parents hit you? And of course, he was confused. He's 5. He said no. But he was scared. DCFS left. And Aunt Lisa called me in a full-on panic. We knew exactly who had done it. Lindsay. But there was no proof. No name on the report. Just anonymous. Still, we were rattled. Furious. But that wasn't even close to the end. 2 days later, my cousin Megan, the one with the red hair and the resting "don't mess with me" face, got a call from her boss. Hey, Megan? Are you okay? I got a disturbing message about you today. An anonymous email saying you've been abusing prescription meds on the job. She nearly dropped her phone. Megan's a pediatric nurse. She doesn't even drink caffeine, let alone touch controlled substances. Her boss didn't believe it, but HR had to do a formal check anyway. She was put on temporary leave, just to investigate. Same day, Richard, Megan's fiancé, gets a notification that his Instagram account had been flagged for impersonation. Then his email gets locked. Then his gym posts get flagged for inappropriate content. Guess who had access to both their socials? Guess who used to log in from Megan's phone to check how she looked on camera? Lindsay. That week, Megan found 3 fake profiles pretending to be her. One was replying to random men. Another was posting about quitting nursing due to trauma. A third was messaging her coworkers. She was losing her mind. And still, we had no concrete evidence. Lindsay was too smart. She was using VPNs, throwaway emails, burner apps. We tried reporting the accounts. They kept coming back. Aunt Lisa made her socials private. I deleted mine altogether. Megan shut hers down. The family group chat was full of screenshots, rants, strategy. We felt like we were at war. And the enemy? Looked just like us. Because then, the fake profiles started pretending to be us. I found a Twitter account with my name, my profile pic, but the bio said, "No shame in dating married men. Life short." It had been tweeting at local teachers and tagging Megan's boss. It even followed a local parenting group and started replying to DCFS posts like, "Maybe if these kids weren't little monsters, they wouldn't get spanked." My blood ran cold. I spent hours reporting it. Took screenshots. Documented everything. I even sent a cease and desist email to a burner address I suspected was hers. No reply. Instead, I got a pizza delivered to my house the next night. Cash on delivery. I never ordered it. The receipt said, "Keep pretending. It's cute." It was psychological warfare. Lindsay had gone nuclear, not just trying to mess with Nate, not just lashing out over the birthday breakup, but actively trying to ruin everyone she felt had laughed at her. A week later, Nate himself messaged the group. "Hey, I know this is awkward, but did one of you just message my mom saying I had a restraining order against you guys?" Nope, none of us. Because someone called her. Said they were your family attorney. Told her I needed to stay away from your whole family because y'all were harassing me. Lindsay again. Guaranteed. Then came the daycare incident. Tommy's daycare called Aunt Lisa in a panic. "Hi. Someone came to pick up Tommy." A woman. Said she was his aunt. But she didn't show ID, and when we stalled, she got agitated and left. They pulled security footage. It was Lindsay. Hood up. Big sunglasses. Left in a rental car with an out-of-state plate. We were done playing nice. Aunt Lisa filed a police report. Megan hired an attorney. So did Richard. Screenshots, logs, burner email tracking, we started piecing things together. But the problem? Most of it was just short of illegal. Online harassment, impersonation, vague threats, but nothing that stuck. Until she crossed one line too far. If things before felt like a bad episode of a reality show, this next part turned it into a full-blown psychological thriller. Let me back up. After the daycare incident, where Lindsay tried to pick up 5-year-old Tommy using nothing but a fake smile and the word "aunt," the whole family snapped into survival mode. The joke stopped. The group chat became a war room. Aunt Lisa installed security cameras. Megan started sleeping with pepper spray by the bed. Richard changed all his passwords and added 2-factor authentication. And me? I stopped taking out the trash after dark. Because even though we hadn't seen her in person since the birthday party meltdown, Lindsay was everywhere. Online, in our emails, in our voicemails. She was like a ghost that smelled like bad perfume and resentment. We still had no legal leverage. The cops told us, and I quote, "Unless she physically threatens you or you catch her in the act, there's not much we can do." Harassment is tricky. Tricky. She tried to abduct a child and it's tricky? So we documented. We kept files. Logs. Screenshots. We even had a shared Google Drive just labeled Lindsay Crimes with timestamps, notes, and backup files. It felt insane, but it was all we had. Then came the night it all escalated. I was out with Megan and Richard grabbing dinner at a diner near my place. Just burgers and milkshakes and decompressing, trying to feel normal for a night. I came home around 10 p.m., walked up the stairs to my apartment, turned the key, and immediately stopped cold. The hallway light was on. I always turn it off. My couch pillows were rearranged. My coat, the one I left hanging by the door, was gone. I slowly backed out, closed the door, and texted Megan, "Call the cops. Someone's been in my apartment." 10 minutes later, I was sitting on the curb in my pajamas, shivering in a hoodie, while 2 officers swept the place. No sign of forced entry. No signs of theft. But things had been moved. My laptop was slightly shifted. One of my books had a dog-eared page I didn't mark. The officers said maybe I was just stressed, that maybe I left things that way and forgot. I wasn't buying it. 2 days later, Megan messaged the group. Someone tried to unlock my back door last night. Caught it on the camera. Can't see a face, but they knew exactly where the keypad was. Richard said his browser had several autofill logins from a location in Florida. Aunt Lisa got a suspicious email confirming an order she didn't make for noise-canceling headphones and a voice recorder. And that's when it clicked. Lindsay wasn't just impersonating us online. She was tracking us in real life. We did a full lockdown after that. New passwords, wiped devices, swapped security systems. And then one night, while talking with Richard about why certain messages kept lining up with when we were out of the house, he said something that made my stomach drop. What if she's using our calendars? I blinked. Like, our Google calendars? He nodded. You shared it with her back when we were planning the camping trip last year, remember? I did. We all had. It was still linked. We checked. And sure enough, Lindsay had view-only access to 3 of our calendars, including mine. She could see our plans, work shifts, appointments, nights out. She knew when we wouldn't be home. I felt sick. This wasn't just revenge. This was premeditated. Megan immediately removed access. So did Richard. We even set up a test, left a fake calendar event on mine for leaving town 5 p.m. Friday, gone all weekend. Then we waited. Friday night, Megan parked her car a few blocks down. Richard and I hid in the back room. We had cameras rolling. We were ready. 9:26 p.m. A soft knock at the door. Then the handle jiggled. Then again, more forcefully. And finally, a soft click. The door eased open. She was wearing a hoodie, sneakers, hair pulled back, holding her phone in one hand and a tote bag in the other. She stepped inside like she'd done it before. Went straight for the coffee table. Opened the drawer. Pulled out a folder, the one with our Lindsay logs. She flipped through it. Started taking photos with her phone. Then walked into the kitchen like she lived there. That's when Richard stepped out and said, "Hey, Lindsay." She jumped so hard she dropped the tote. Then she screamed, "You scared me. What are you doing in my house?" We stood there, speechless for a second. "Your house," Megan said. "You broke in, Lindsay." No, I was just checking on you guys. I thought you were out of town. I was worried." "You picked the lock. We got it on camera." She froze. The air was dead silent. I was returning something," she stammered. "What?" "The trauma. Police arrived 5 minutes later." She tried to play the victim, tears, shaking voice, the whole act. "They arrested her. Finally. Charged her with unlawful entry, trespassing, and stalking. Her phone was confiscated. Inside were saved passwords, screenshots of our messages, multiple burner apps, GPS logs. They found a second phone in her bag, a hidden camera pen, 2 USBs labeled with our names, and a handwritten list titled, Next Moves. We'd caught her just in time, but the story didn't end there. Because Lindsay posted bail, and while she waited for court, she decided to go out with a bang. If you've ever had someone in your family that operates on pure chaos, like if drama were a blood type, then you know exactly what we were dealing with. Lindsay made every event about herself. Baby shower? She faked a fainting spell. Graduation? She brought an ex and made a scene. Thanksgiving? Let's just say it ended with cranberry sauce on the ceiling and Grandma Ruth yelling, "Get out before I call the damn police." So when it came time to plan Grandma Ruth's 80th birthday, everyone was on edge. Like, paranoid on a cellular level. We hadn't heard from Lindsay since her arrest, the break-in, the hidden pin camera, the USBs with our names on them. She'd been charged and released on bail. We figured her lawyer was advising her to stay quiet. We were wrong. Dead wrong. The party was being held at a nice little rental space downtown in Marietta. Not super fancy, but cozy. White tablecloths, gold trim, floral centerpieces, a slideshow of Grandma's best moments, her in her 20s looking like a silent film star, her in her 60s wrestling a garden hose, her last year flipping off a goose. We had every detail planned. The cake was her favorite, banana walnut. Megan handled the playlist. Richard was in charge of photography. Aunt Lisa double-checked the RSVP list. I personally walked through the venue the day before to check security cameras and lock placement. Because this wasn't just a birthday party. It was a potential war zone. We even had a plan. If Lindsay showed up, we would not engage. We'd call security. We wouldn't give her a stage. So naturally, she found another way in. The party was rolling. Grandma was glowing. Tommy was running around with a party hat on sideways. People were laughing. For the first time in months, there was joy without tension. Relief. I was standing near the bar chatting with one of my cousins when AmITheA came up to me, pale-faced. "There's a package under the gift table." I blinked. "What kind of package?" "Small box. No label. No card." We walked over. It was just sitting there, matte black, about the size of a shoebox. Wrapped in twine. No note. No tags. No one had seen who put it there. My heart started pounding. "Don't touch it," I said. We called the venue manager. He called the police. Guests started whispering. People backed away. Police arrived fast. We weren't far from a precinct. They took one look and cleared the immediate area. A bomb squad was called. Yes, a literal bomb squad. They brought in a dog, scanned the package, and finally opened it, only to find a burnt birthday card, torn up family photos, and a USB drive labeled Truth. Inside the card, which had clearly been lit on fire and then snuffed out, was a handwritten note. "You celebrate lies. Let's see how happy you are when it all burns." Grandma looked at the photos, some of them dating back to her wedding, and she just went quiet. Then she turned to Aunt Lisa and whispered, "Get her out of my bloodline." The USB? Full of Lindsay's twisted digital scrapbooking. Screenshots of our private messages clearly hacked or intercepted. Audio recordings from God knows where. A slideshow titled "The Real Family" with fake captions accusing all of us of everything from tax fraud to abuse. Some of it was laughable. Some of it, not so much. She included an email thread she forged between Megan and her boss, attempting to make it look like Megan was bribing for her job. She even included Google Docs pretending to be restraining order drafts, supposedly written by Nate, naming all of us. Problem was, her metadata wasn't scrubbed. Every file had her IP. Every edit timestamp linked to her devices. She left digital fingerprints everywhere. Police now had enough to issue a full search warrant. But Lindsay wasn't done. Because after the box fiasco and the cops had left, she came in. Literally walked into the venue. In disguise. Wig. Oversized glasses. A hoodie. She blended in just long enough to get near the cake table. And then she lunged. Grabbed the cake with both hands and tried to flip it. But the cake was massive, for tears, and she underestimated the weight. Instead of making a dramatic scene, she slipped. Frosting exploded. She hit the ground covered in banana walnut, screaming, "This is fake. You're all fakes." People started filming. One of the venue staff tackled her before she could get up. She bit his arm. No joke. Full chomp. Cops were called again. She was arrested again. This time, no bail. Because this time she violated multiple restraining orders, committed harassment and destruction of property, and had already been under investigation for online harassment across state lines. The FTF, Federal Cybercrime Task Force, had been quietly building a case for months. Her digital paper trail? It was enough for federal charges. The next morning, Grandma sat in her kitchen, hair rollers in, sipping chamomile tea. She said, "I raised 4 children, helped raise 10 grandkids, survived 2 husbands. But this is the most shameful chapter I've ever lived through." Then she paused. "But I'll be damned if I let that girl steal another day from us." She wrote a victim statement for the court. Every family member signed it. And for the first time, the family felt united. Not over trauma, but over resilience. We thought we were done with surprises. After Lindsay tried, and failed, to flip Grandma Ruth's birthday cake, got arrested in a pile of banana walnut frosting, and was finally held without bail, we thought maybe, just maybe, we could breathe again. But that night, I got a call that flipped everything. Not from a family member. From a federal agent. It was a man named Agent Carter from the Federal Cybercrime Task Force. Calm voice. Dry tone. Said he'd been following our family harassment case for over 6 months. Said Lindsay had already been flagged in 2 other interstate cases, both involving digital stalking, identity theft, and what he called personation patterns. She wasn't just doing this to us. We were her latest targets. Apparently, before she latched onto our family, she targeted 2 ex-co-workers from a marketing firm in Arizona. One of them got fired because someone impersonated them online, sent out fake press releases with internal data, and made it look like they'd leaked trade secrets. Sound familiar? Another had their car keyed and their parents called with fake CPS reports, again, anonymous tips claiming neglect of a newborn. It was Lindsay. Every time. But there wasn't enough evidence. Until now. See, the box she left at Grandma's birthday wasn't just petty revenge. It was confession-level dumb. That USB was digital gold. The metadata inside it gave the FCTF full access to her burner accounts, 12 emails, 8 social handles, and 4 virtual phone numbers. Her devices had overlapping logins across platforms, and one of her VPN services had expired. Left her location wide open for 17 days. 17 days of full-on digital stalking from her IP on her home Wi-Fi. She'd been tracking our calendars, reading our emails, sending fake emails to our bosses, messaging daycare staff under our names, setting up robocalls. One night, she even posed as a CPS supervisor and left a voicemail for Megan's boss threatening escalation if the case wasn't taken seriously. All of it? Recorded, traced, packaged, and handed to a federal prosecutor. The grand jury was fast. The charges hit hard. 4 counts of online impersonation, 3 counts of felony stalking, 2 counts of identity theft, 1 count of attempted child endangerment and obstruction for trying to scrub her devices. Once the investigation became public the day she was indicted, a federal warrant was issued for her home. Inside, a literal binder labeled Family Ops, handwritten logs, daily notes, observations, sticky notes about Tommy's school schedule, printouts of our social profiles, a list of local businesses we used, even a sketch. I'm not kidding, a sketch of the daycare parking lot. One page said, if Megan loses job, she'll spiral. Record if she cries. Another, if grandma passes, show up at funeral. Control the narrative. Who writes this? The court documents labeled it as delusional behavior with obsessive fixation. The psychiatrist hired for the trial said it plain. Lindsay was dangerously obsessed with us. Not just angry, not just petty, obsessed. Trial started 4 months after her arrest. The courtroom felt like a twisted reunion. Grandma Ruth in the front row with a cane and a steel jaw. Megan and Richard holding hands, both pale. Aunt Lisa flipping through her notes like she was preparing a closing argument herself. Me? I just stared at the back of Lindsay's head, trying to find the girl I once knew buried in the mess. But she never looked back. Not once. The prosecutor laid it out brutally. They showed her messages, played voicemail threats, showed side-by-side comparisons of real and fake profiles, brought in witnesses from Arizona and even one from Florida, a woman she tormented for nearly a year before moving on to us. The defense? Tried to go with mental health, claimed stress, claimed childhood trauma, claimed she was unwell but not malicious. But the paper trail disagreed. Lindsay didn't just act out. She planned. She adjusted. She escalated. She wrote down tactics. She celebrated wins. One entry literally said, Megan suspended. Success. Another? Tommy almost taken. Close. The room went cold. When the verdict came back guilty on all major counts, we didn't cheer. We just exhaled. The judge called her behavior a chilling blueprint for digital terrorism cloaked as family drama. Then sentenced her 5 years in federal prison. No parole. Mandatory mental health treatment. Restraining orders for all of us. That was it. 5 years. You'd think we'd celebrate. But honestly, we just went home. Grandma wrote her a letter the week after sentencing. She never sent it, just left it in her Bible. It said, I hope you heal, but not near us. We started rebuilding. Megan got her job back with full back pay and a public apology from the hospital. Richard proposed again, this time without fear, and they got married in a backyard ceremony where the cake stayed upright. Aunt Lisa started painting. Like, really painting. Said it helped her sleep. Me? I started sleeping without double-checking the locks. Mostly, but just when we thought it was all behind us. A package arrived at Megan and Richard's new address. No return label, just a single item inside. A crumpled party hat. From Tommy's birthday. When Megan and Richard found the crumpled party hat in their mailbox, no return address, no explanation, the whole family spiraled for about 48 hours. Was it Lindsay? Was it someone else? How did someone get their new address? They'd moved after the trial. Changed all their contact info. Only a handful of people had access. They hadn't even posted online about it. That hat, it wasn't just trash. It was a message. The same style as the ones from Tommy's 5th birthday, the day Lindsay got dumped, the day the nightmare started. And that hat, that was the last straw. Richard drove straight to the police. Megan called her lawyer. I checked our shared digital logs again, paranoid that we'd missed something. But then, the investigation revealed it wasn't Lindsay. She was locked down tight in federal custody. Monitored. Restricted. No communication privileges yet. She didn't even know where they lived now. Turns out, the package was from an old friend of hers, a woman named Sierra, someone Lindsay met years ago in Arizona. They'd exchanged favors, social passwords, burner numbers. The woman had helped Lindsay before, and this was her way of reminding them she was still out there. We filed a restraining order on her, too. The FBI got involved again, but that moment, it made something very clear to all of us. Lindsay may be gone, but the ripple she left behind, it's still moving. After the trial, our family looked fine on the surface. We smiled more, took photos, celebrated holidays again without locking our phones in drawers or scanning the guest list twice. But underneath, we were stitched up, fragile, exhausted. Uncle Tom started therapy for the first time in his life. Said he hadn't realized how close he was to losing it. Aunt Lisa started carrying a panic button in her purse. Grandma stopped answering unknown numbers. Megan got a new phone entirely. And Tommy? He started waking up with nightmares, sometimes asking if the scary lady was coming back. We told him no, over and over, that she was gone. But truth is, healing doesn't come all at once. We started a new family ritual, something small but meaningful. On the first Sunday of every month, we gather. Not for drama, not for birthdays, just to be. No gifts, no fancy decorations, just a potluck table, lawn chairs, and laughter. And there's one empty chair we always set out. It's not for Lindsay. It's not for some abstract ghost. It's for peace. That chair reminds us to make room for quiet, for healing, for boundaries we'll never let anyone cross again. The last time we all gathered, Megan was holding Tommy, who's now 6 and finally smiling like a kid again. Richard brought brownies. Grandma brought a puzzle book and beat all of us at word search. Someone made a joke about the chair. Said, maybe we should name it. I said, let's call it Closure. Grandma smiled and nodded. Closure with a side of banana walnut cake. Everyone laughed. But it was that soft, relieved kind of laugh, the kind that says, we made it. As for Lindsay, she's still inside. Last we heard, she tried to manipulate a prison counselor into giving her access to a phone. It didn't work. She'll serve her full sentence. And when she gets out, she'll meet a world that doesn't flinch anymore. Because now we know how to fight back. You don't always get a clean ending. Sometimes the villain doesn't vanish. Sometimes they echo. Sometimes you keep double-checking the locks at night, even when the threat's long gone. But peace isn't the absence of chaos. It's the refusal to let it control you. And that's what we've got now.